Hello, I think I'm live. We are waiting for Phil to come on in about 10 minutes. Hold on, I'm going to mute myself for now. Hey guys, I'm going to start in about 5 to 10 minutes. We're waiting for Phil. Scheduled for 4. I'm just making sure that everything is set up. I see that I'm live. Everything's cool. And for the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to mute myself. And we'll start when Phil gets on. Okay, while we're waiting for Phil, I guess I'll answer questions if they come up. Well, how am I doing? It's that's a hard question to answer. Wait, oh, there's Phil.
Hello, can you hear me?
On. Can I hear Phil? Phil, say something.
You hear me?
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Wonderful. How you doing?
Good. It's a complicated question. I don't really know how I'm doing.
Good point.
I'm kind of scared, with an eerie kind of calm. I don't even know if I'm scared of the Israeli government more than I am of Hamas right now. You know, I don't really know what to say other than physically I'm okay. And I'd say it's embarrassing what happened to Israel, but since it looks intentional, I don't know that for a fact. I'm speculating.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Pearl Harbor kind of thing.
It looks like a Pearl Harbor sort of thing where FDR had allowed it to happen, knowing that it was going to happen as a pretext for something else. Going into World War II. Hold on, I got to mute this tab. Okay, I heard I'm still getting these technical issues sorted as I get better at this. I think this is better than last week, though. All right.
No,
So,
you're closer to Hezbollah, right?
yeah, I am.
Yeah, but I guess, as far as I know, they haven't done anything similar to what Hamas is doing. They're just firing a couple rockets in solidarity.
Yeah, they haven't invaded anything. And it would be a lot harder to do so because there's like mountains, and it's not like it's the Gaza border. It's like the towns that surround Gaza are like literally right there. Like you just walk over and that's it.
I saw the video of the rave. There was there was some German girl killed in the initial wave, and they were having this like outdoor rave like meters from Gaza Strip. It was like a rave for peace, but it was a bunch of people just doing drugs in the desert and dancing.
Yeah, unfortunately,
not a good idea.
I have what to say about that. Hold on. How do I get okay, I'm gonna track the chat here while also keeping an eye on this window.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that too. I'll fire up YouTube on my end.
Okay, so I got us on one side and chat on the other side. So cool. So about that rave, I didn't know what was going on, but on Shabbat, on Saturday, Shabbat is every week on Saturday. But this was a special one because it was the end of Sukkot, the end of the Feast of Booths, the Feast of Tabernacles, the 8th day, which is generally in temple times, it was a huge party at the temple. And now it's called Simchas Torah, the end of the reading of the Torah. We finish the book and we start over. So everyone's basically dancing. And this was sort of like maybe a secular version of that where they were partying. But the holiday has kind of devolved into just a drunken party, whether you're religious or not. So like a lot of people drink heavily and just act like idiots when they're supposed to be acting, religious. It's
probably another inflation probably has something to do with that too, I would think.
Yeah, I guess it's it's a bad day. And what I'm really terrified about, I'm not terrified, I'm okay, but there's women and children and elderly that were kidnapped and are stuck in Gaza right now, and I don't know how we're ever going to get them back. And like every Hamas terrorist that's captured now is going to be released anyway, so I don't know what they're doing, wasting their time. It's all a horrific mess.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. As
I said when I was texting you privately, do you think it's like a spasm of the endgame, like an endgame early spasm?
Look, it's hard. Like when we go into situations like these or into events like this, I try to keep my religious mind and my financial mind separate, but I can't help crossing them over at certain times because everything is united, everything is one, God is one. So, I mean, I don't try to tell the future or anything, but I can tell you that events like this, coming from my perspective, where the Jewish people have a certain, what we call hashgacha pratis, it's called God directs our history as a nation. Person doesn't mean like he's looking after every single individual one of us, making sure that every single individual is okay, but there's a general principle that big things don't happen to the Jews unless God is right there letting it happen. So that's happening now, and this is very big. Something big is happening in history. I don't know if it will lead to the end game immediately or months out or years out. I really don't know, but this is big that has to be part of something very large. And I can see it leading to the end game very easily if Iran gets involved and they cut the Strait of Hormuz and then they stop the oil imports and then oil jacks up to $200, $300 a barrel and then there's a dollar crisis. I mean, that could happen very easily in the next few months or days. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have the same thing here in America, but we do have like internal divisions that are really starting to spike. So,
well,
you know.
You asked me two questions privately, but they were good questions. So I just want to go over them here so people know where I stand on this. Like, I'm not like a rooter for the government of Israel and their whatever they do. Sometimes they end up doing the right thing by accident, but most of the time it's just they're just trying to get power. And in this state, yeah, I'm rooting for them, obviously, because they're my protectors and there's nothing I could do about that. So like, I'd rather they win this war than Hamas, obviously, and I'm not a traitor in that sense at all. So I want to be protected. But at the same time, you asked.
I asked you two questions. I said,
Yeah,
one
right.
is, do you want the state to, because you had posted that the main solution for peace would be to basically kick everyone in Gaza out into Egypt and then resettle it, because you cannot live with people who cannot live with you.
I'd say just practically, yeah. Your question was how do I support that from a Rothbardian perspective, right? If I'm an anarchist, how is that an answer? Well, I can, either way, there's going to have to be brutality here. I mean, I could think of ways to do it less brutally, and the less brutally, the better. For example, we could just, I don't know, siege the place and cut it off from three sides so that there's nothing going in, nothing going out, classic warfare, and then just leave the border to Egypt open and let them go in if they're hungry. And you don't have to do anything. It'll take a while, but that would be the least brutal way to do it.
You could pay people.
You could pay people to leave. You could start a private fund, pay people to leave. That's been my solution for a very long time. Like, if they want to go, take the money and leave. And there has to be separation here. We can't really live together. Your second question, so my answer to that question is like, there's state action. Yeah, I'm against state action, but right now the state is in charge of the army and we're in an emergency, and I can't just say, oh, I can't do anything because, Rothbard. This is the situation now. And even theoretically, if the army was private, what makes the army bad is not necessarily that it's brutal. Obviously, if it's a protection service, then it's going to have to be brutal in some instances. But the problem is that it's tax funded. So even if it were a private army, which should be, then it would still have to do something brutal in response to this. Yeah. There's no escaping the brutality.
Well, my second question was just for clarification, because your tweet could be interpreted as like, everyone who's not Jewish has to leave Israel immediately or be executed. And no. I was trying to clarify. I think what you meant was that it's because they have committed to driving the Jews into the sea that you must drive them out as people, right? Not you personally. But so my question specifically was, do you want them out because they are not Jewish, or because they are committed to these acts of violence? And if they could, they would drive you out.
It's not 100% one or the other. It's much more leaning to they're committed to my death and destruction. Therefore, I want them out. But look, there is an aspect of this is our country that doesn't give just to clarify my stance on Zionism, or my version of Zionism. I'm not a political Zionist. I don't believe the state of Israel is holy in any sense at all. I think it's very problematic that there's the monopoly on violence that's run by Jews, and they do a lot of bad things. However, I do believe that God gave us this strip of land, which does not give us the entitlement to kill people here that are because they live here. We're not allowed to do that, or steal their stuff for no reason. We can't do that either. But we have a religious obligation to homestead the biblical area of Israel, either by purchasing or by building on it. And the more that we purchase from non-Jews legitimately that are here, the better. That's what I believe. It doesn't mean that non-Jews can't be here. They certainly can, and that's fine. Even in the Torah society, it talks about Gerim, it talks about the stranger that's among you, and to treat him fairly and this and that. But if they're trying to kill you, what am I supposed to do? All right.
Yeah.
So it's
just
somewhere in there.
Yeah. The tweet is a little vague, so I thought clarification might help you out there, because some people got upset about that. Well, people are going to get upset about whatever you say, I guess.
Yeah, actually, I'm more, to tell you the truth, I'm more afraid. I don't think I'm going to tweet about any of this anymore. I might delete some of the tweets, because I'm more afraid of the Israeli government going after people for saying things than I am of Hamas coming to my door.
I could definitely see the state getting very like, you will get behind us or else.
Yeah, they're probably not going to go after me because I deal with English speakers and they're probably searching Hebrew tweets and stuff. If they're even going to go that far, I don't know. But they've already enacted emergency powers where basically they can take anyone and put them in a hole for anybody, Israeli citizen or not, put them in a hole for as long as they want without any court date, and they just hide you forever. And that's supposed to be for terrorists, but like we see with Guantanamo, it's going to extend to Israeli citizens, like people that are dissidents. You don't know what's happening. What just happened? I just saw this crazy story. Like there was a car driving on Highway 4, a highway I use all the time, driving north from Gaza, and the police were chasing after him, and he didn't stop, and they thought it was a Hamas terrorist or whatever word they used. So they shot the guy while he was driving. They shot him dead, and it turns out he was just a Jew that was running away from Gaza because he didn't want to get bombed.
Wow.
I mean, this is the danger here. I mean, we can get caught in the crosshairs of either side, and I just want to stay the hell away.
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, the same things that happen in America every single time. Like even going back to the Civil War, they suspended all our rights and just threw all the dissenters in prison, threw all the peaceniks in prison. World War I, they hang Germans. They do lynch mobs of Germans. I mean, it's the exact same thing. You get these, like, it's a combination of mass hysteria and the state seizing more control. But hopefully the endgame will cure all that.
Yeah. Anyway, back to our original topic. You wanted to talk about
morality in the clown world. So morality,
how to stay moral, and that could mean it as an extra dimension now that we're at war. At least my country's at war. What am I supposed to do?
So my question was specifically relates to myself. Is I have a pretty cushy job. I'm a government contractor, but I feel like I'm parasitizing. Like I feel like I'm a parasite on society right now. But I can't. I mean, I'm sort of looking at alternative sources of income, but I haven't made any clear decisions. And the government is crowding out 45% of the economy right now. So and it's just getting bigger. It's just going to get bigger until the end game. So the question is, and you can sort of see, like, if you work for the beast, you're just accelerating the collapse. So is it moral to work for the beast, accelerate the collapse, and then on the side tell people to stack shiny? I don't know.
Is it?
Is it just, or is it just if you can live with yourself with it? I don't know. Because we can't all sell silver. Like you can't get, you get 6 million people hawking silver. You're not going to, the marginal profits will go to zero.
I know there's no way to escape the system entirely.
Yeah.
Unless you take, like a bug out zone and totally cut off everything and be self-sufficient. And that's not realistic for almost anyone.
Yeah.
And if people were all to do that, then most people would starve to death. So that's not really an option. My approach, and I can listen to your approach. My approach is, whatever I'm doing, however I'm participating, I try to minimize my interaction with the system as much as possible while maintaining whatever influence I can. It's a moral balance. I use fiat currency. I use the banking system because I have to. I can't escape the system. But what I do try to make sure they do not have my mind. I won't let them have that. So as long as they don't have your soul, they don't have your mind, and you don't buy into all this stuff, and you've kept your soul away from it, you can maintain morality. And that probably means, like, don't get a liberal arts degree these days. Stay away from the worst of it. And like Ron Paul, is Ron Paul immoral because he got a government salary? I'm sure some things that he did were immoral, and he's not perfect, but the good that he's done far outweighs any negative effects of his congressmanship or his serving in the federal government. So look, this is a world of darkness, and we're all going to get dirty, but we got to keep our souls clean as much as we can.
Yeah. So following up to that, what about like if you looked at like Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago, right? There's this mass flash mob, and you can sort of, I mean, I don't want to, you can never excuse theft, especially theft of like something like that. But like you see these people, they're stuck in, they're like an Uber Eats driver or something. They're stuck on the treadmill. They're getting absolutely nowhere. In fact, they're probably getting further and further behind, and they just get really mad, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to steal what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So how to prevent? Well, I don't know. I guess my question is like, what advice can you give to some? Like, I'm pretty cushy right now. So what advice can you give to somebody who's not cushy for how to stay moral? Like somebody who's like stuck back on the treadmill.
Talk to Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
It's
just go back to the goat thing, or you like, it could always get worse. So
that's one thing. I think this might be a legend. I don't think it's a legend though, but they said about Alexander Solzhenitsyn, right, and he was in the Gulag. He noticed that people that became like jungle oriented, kill or be killed, and stealing as much as they could just to survive, he saw them getting weaker, while the ones who maintained this sort of moral core for some reason got stronger. I don't know if this is actually true. I hope it is. I think there are aspects of it that are true. Look, there are stories like in the book of Daniel, when Daniel was a hostage of the Babylonian government. The Nebuchadnezzar was trying to feed him all the great foods of the government foods, like meat and all this non-kosher stuff that he wasn't allowed to eat. And he refused to eat it, and he just ate fruits and vegetables, and he gained weight anyway. Like, he was okay. So I don't like. I think there is a real physical aspect to keeping a moral compass, and it helping your body, helping your immune system, making your metabolism more efficient. There's some scientific explanation for it. There's got to be.
Yeah.
How far it goes, I don't know. But my philosophy on these things is, if you really try your best to do your best in the current situation, and there's no real handbook for this, you have to speak with people who've been in worse situations than this. COVID was bad, but it was nothing compared to being in a death camp, and what people had to do to survive that, and then return to normal society. I don't even know how that's possible. I could barely return to normal society like after what happened in 2021, and I'm having trouble with that. Which means I'm really weak. But if you try and you keep your soul active, and even if you don't know the exact path, and you keep your mind open to a creator who can help guide you through, let's say the Princess Bride guide my sword mentality, or you just stick it and see where it goes, and try to follow your soul. You should be fine, because God will help you. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess on my perspective, I'd say I have a friend, he's like divorced and living in an apartment, and with a couple other guys, and two of his roommates have OD'd on fentanyl. So he's kind of getting new roommates. And he's having a tough time. And I said, stack a little silver. And he stacked a bit of silver, and he really appreciates, like, he mentally very much appreciates it, because it's like physical wealth that he has like saved up. And it's not much, but it's enough to buy a house in the endgame. But
yeah,
he's saved up a bit, and I think it's moving him in the right direction. Now I think he's working as an electrician, so he's not, he's not a Walmart greeter, and he's also not feeding the beast like I am. Mm-hmm. So
okay, yeah. Well, look, you're feeding the beast, but like in your classes, in your commentary on your Rumble channel, everybody check out Phil's Rumble channel. Put it in the comments, and I'll put it in the description also for people who replay this. But you should listen to his classes, and he puts everything together very well. If you want to discuss anything that you see on that front, what is good? I mean, what if you wanted to cover anything about the morality issue? Also, we'll finish that subject. But so you're a government contractor, and you're feeding the beast on that, but are you really? I mean, because every time you get a paycheck, and then you put some of it towards gold and silver, you're chopping down the pyramid that you're part of. So
that's the way I feel like I'm stuck in the pyramid. Like I just don't like we spoke before. There's no way to like truly escape it. Like I guess I could go teach Austrian economics somewhere. But I don't know.
Well, picture that you're keep going. Yeah.
Just because I have a family to support, and I have a house that I live in. I can't just after my revelation that I had, I can't, even if I might want to just chuck it all up and start over, I can't do that responsibly. So I feel like maybe I'm making peace with myself when I shouldn't be, but I feel okay. I just don't feel great about it. Let me put it that way.
Mhm. Well, no, I'd say you're doing the right thing. And people who work for the government, people are doing what they need to do, as long as you're not like crossing over into I'll give this guy or one of you're a government doctor, I'll just lie about this or that medical issue and then just shoot this kid up with whatever.
Let's say
that would be a problem.
Let's say you're like an EPA inspector and you find some very rare slug on some guy's farm, and these slugs must be protected at all costs. So you're going to seize the farm. You write the report. We got to seize this farm. We got to shut this family down. Eminent domain their land. Kick them off. This yellow spotted slug must be protected at all costs. Like.
Yellow spotted slug, is that a thing?
Well, you know what I mean. Like, I mean, because farmer, I mean, jokes aside, farmers are like being harassed by, government. It's like the small farmers, and it's, you can tell like Monsanto is like behind the government puppet, being like, well, we'll buy that land from you. Like, I'm sorry you can't farm on there, but we'll buy it.
Yeah, that's what they're doing in the Netherlands to the Dutch farmers there.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not doing that. Thankfully, I think I would not be able to live with myself if I was doing that right now. So. I would have to toss the table and go do something else in my life.
Yeah, well, actually, something really special happened to me yesterday that I wasn't expecting at all. Somebody in my community apologized to me and thanked me for standing up for my principles. And this person had previously, mocked me for my medical stances and called me kinds of names and whatever. I held myself back, but today he seemed visibly upset about something. I don't know. Something must have happened to him. I didn't ask him. Maybe he's had a side effect that he doesn't want to talk about. I don't know. But he just came up to me and thanked me for my stance. I mean, there's people are waking up, and as long as we stick to the truth as far as we can handle it, let God handle the rest, because we can't be perfect. It's not our responsibility to. You just got to be human.
Yeah. So the last part of this, and then we can toss it to super chats if other people have questions. But
yeah,
one of the things that's really bugged me is after my, again, post-monetary revelation, is the women, engaging in very immoral activities online. And I have to say, full admission, as a young man, I did see the feminine form in a state of undress via digital medium. But, now I see like how destructive it is. And, once you go down that road, like you have closed off so many like good potential partners. If you're, don't have somebody like, I mean, I'm sure you'll find some slob that'll marry and put up with that. But like, the ability to build a family. And there's a congressman, she's running for state Congress, and her OnlyFans came out, and she had OnlyFans with her husband, with herself, with other men, and her kids are in middle school. And it's like, I mean, middle school is bad enough without everyone being like, hey, I saw your mom, stick a cucumber up her, like Jesus Christ. And you're just, I don't know, that kind of moral destruction, it's really hard to walk back from that. And I don't know if there's any young women thinking about OnlyFans who are on this chat. Probably not. But my advice would be don't do it. Like, the doors you are closing cannot be reopened. And if you have already started down this road, that money that you're going to make you're going to be like an NFL player. You're going to make money from about 19 to 30, and you're not going to make anything. So that money you make will be a lot, but you have to like invest that very, very prudently.
Yeah. Once you head down that door, and look, that's just one aspect. I guess you could call it dirty fun, or shutting off the higher part of yourself to engage in the lower part of yourself exclusively. Like, we all have lower parts of ourselves that we enjoy.
5 kids,
5 kids. Yeah. But the idea isn't to turn off the lower part of yourself. The idea is to use the lower part of yourself, integrate it with the higher part of yourself, and make something of it. I mean, there's anything from wasting your time watching a stupid TV show. I'm not saying that's immoral, but I'm saying it's a similar kind of fun to OnlyFans, just on a much lower, less bad level. But it's still a waste of potential. Sometimes you need a break, but we have to be climbing the ladder higher and higher, becoming more and more moral people. And there's levels to morality. There are people who will rigidly schedule their day to make sure they accomplish this and that. Depending on what their goals are. There are people who, like me, waste a lot of time because we need a lot of breaks and to just regroup. And there are people that do OnlyFans, and I could get better by wasting less time. But it's hard to waste less time. You got to do it. You got to like push yourself harder and harder, and then wean yourself off so you become more efficient. But once you head to OnlyFans, I mean, yeah, it's you've got to basically change your name, move countries, hide out, and start over again. It's possible. It's possible to recover from that, but the deeper you go into it, the harder it is to recover as your humanity.
Yeah. Or just renounce it. I mean, I guess you could renounce it, but still I mean, it's going to be really hard to walk back from something like that. And men, that's particularly to women, men don't have that kind of shame typically. But I don't know. So I was looking at the chats, and I guess a bunch of people said I was being very unempathetic or something. I don't know.
I didn't get that.
I didn't get that either. Sorry.
Okay. I feel very empathetically cared for by Phil.
Yeah. I have no idea where I gave the impression of being unempathetic to anybody. All right. You want to toss it to super chats? You have any final thoughts on morality in the clown world? What about morality in the end game? I mean, the only thing I can think of is to be generous. Like, because if you're going to be stacking and, when your neighbors come and like, I need to sell my house, like, don't just a couple of copper pennies and then buy their house, spread the wealth, be generous. The gains you're going to make are going to be just unbelievable already. Like you don't need to get 100 houses. You could be happy with 20 houses. You could have 100 houses with, miserable neighbors in poverty, or you could have 20 houses with, more, neighbors that have a little more savings now. So,
yeah. So I guess my last comment on maintaining morality and leading up to the end game and through the end game is a different question. I'll get to that in a second, but you basically want to see where the inflation is and stay away from the most inflated sectors. And if you can stay away from the worst of it, the pressures should be off. Like I wouldn't become a policeman. I wouldn't become a public sector doctor. I think those are just very dangerous. If you want to practice medicine, do it privately. Don't subject yourself to big pharma's immorality. It's too strong right now. So know your level and stay away from the worst of it, and know what you can handle and what pressures you can handle. And there's another saying in Judaism, like a little light pushes away a lot of darkness, and that's also scientifically true. You just need in a completely dark room, all you need is a match to light up most of the room. You can basically see. But one apology is worth a lot, right?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
It's worth a lot, especially coming from somebody who I never expected it from. One can have me riding the whole year. Because if I know one person is strong enough to apologize to me, then how many people are thinking the same thing but not saying it? We'll be okay. People are waking up, and so through the end game, you have to stack gold and silver now, and you'll become phenomenally wealthy. And then with your phenomenal wealth, you will be able to do a lot of good. It's going to be easier than you think. No one's going to be reveling in his gold and silver gains, or none of us are going to be like, ha ha ha, you're all dying. It's not, none of us are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. It's unempathetic.
Who are you? Kamala Harris?
Yeah. What I was going to say, back to apology real quick, and then I can go to super chats if anyone has any. There was a guy, I was both bullied and a bully in high school, as many people were. And, the being bullied hurts, but like, as an adult, like looking back on when I bullied other people, like it was like, I'm so ashamed of myself. So I actually reached out to people that I was bad to, and apologized. And I just told me to like, go soak my head. but the act of the apology like lifted the weight off my, like, I don't feel bad about it anymore. I lifted the weight. Like, he didn't accept it, that's on him. But like, you know, truly giving a heartfelt apology if you feel you've wronged somebody, the reaction really is irrelevant. Like, you can put your soul that way.
Yeah, and on that note, it's important to see this whole process as we're a snapshot in time of human history, right? We're not just the sum of our own experiences. We are the sum, even epigenetically, maybe even like physically, we're the sum of all of our ancestors' histories. All the decisions they've ever made has led to you, has led to me. So we're a part of a chain of human history. And our decisions now to apologize, to accept an apology, to rebuild, a destroyed relationship, will have effects into eternity. We don't know exactly what they will be. So that can segue into the timing for the end game. Like, okay, so what about all the previous generations who were in part of this inflationary madness, who didn't get to see the end of it, or passed away just before, or didn't get through the end game? How is it fair? Well, I don't know if it's fair. It's just the reality of it. But their decisions lead us to now. So, people's decisions in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s affected me to become who I am. And now I'm part of leading this in a very small way, this movement. And so are you. So forget about whether we're going to live through it, but we're definitely pushing it forward or keeping the good alive. That's what we're definitely doing that. I don't know how well we're doing it, but there's nobody
the path
else.
laid before me is crystal clear. Like, I see the path I walk now, which is good. All right. To chats. By the way, I'm not a guest. We are co-hosting the show. We're gonna be doing weekly live streams because people are like, your guest sucks. I'm like, well, get used to me. We decided to start co-hosting, so we're friends. We're co-hosting this for weekly. So Rafi, would you eat your neighbor?
Would I eat my neighbor? Probably not. No.
What if he's already dead?
I don't know if I'm in that kind of situation. No, I'd probably eat grass first or something. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it myself. I was asked the same question. I'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I know a lot of people did that in China during Mao's Great Famine. That was documented by Frank Decoder in Mao's Great Famine.
Yeah. I mean, if the state gets tyrannical on the way down, the kulaks, like you and me, will be the first to go for. So,
Okay, we're getting some sex jokes here. That's nice. So any other questions? Then you would get botulism. Yeah. All right. One thing I'm working on with the endgame investor now is I'm getting bolder with timing. I see something between 4 and 7 months. I mentioned this on
you timed it
on what's his name, on Chris's channel, the Silver Report. But this was before the war broke out, and I don't know what's going to happen with the war, but if it's 4 to 7 months, as judging by there's different measures that I use. There's the reserves, the bank reserves that are crossing into $3 trillion territory, and the $3 trillion was the last regional bank bailout. There's the reverse repos, which are emptying, and there is the yield curve spread, which is pushing back up. The yield curve spread between the 10-year and the 3-month, and that's moved up from like negative 189 basis points to now 71 in just 4 months. So once this goes positive, the next Keynesian style recession is like right there. And with the dollar weakening in real terms as it is now, it's I think that's got to be it.
Yeah, the Dixie's going up like crazy, but gold is not moving very much, and that's when gold moves with interest rates. That's the sign. I mean, that is the sign of the game.
That began in 1977 and ended in 1980. It was a 3-year period, but this time I think it'll be even quicker.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Let's see, any questions here? Brass and lead is important. No super chats yet. So I'm scrolling through here. Updates about Lebanon. Updates about Lebanon. All I hear is that I'm far away from Lebanon. I'm not on the Lebanese border. There's Israel to the west of me is the Galilee, which is low down. But I'm on the Golan Heights, which is heights, they're up. It's a plateau. So it's harder to bomb that, which is why rockets don't generally come here. So I haven't heard anything. I didn't even know anything was going on until I turned on the news. I had a little bit of a hint because somebody came into the synagogue like a little bit drunk and said something about somebody was yelling at him that we're at war. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll find out about that later. And then I turn on the phone and then bam, 100 Jews are kidnapped and 500 are dead or whatever it is. And yeah. So
how do they call it if everyone's put their phone down for Shabbat? How do they call up the reservists? Is there like a special break through the turn off your phone alarm?
No, word just spreads.
Word just spreads. Okay.
Yeah, not everyone has their phone off, and emergency services always have their phones on. Not everybody keeps Shabbat anyway. And then people come into the synagogues and just tell people, turn on your phones. We got to go. We got to get going, and they do. Yeah, that's what happens. Okay, somebody gave us a super chat. How do I check that? Be safe. Okay, I will.
Now, the ultra orthodox don't have to serve in the draft, correct?
They don't have to, but they do have to. It's like their dispensation is open to any Israeli citizen who wants to take it, which is you sign up to learn Torah at a yeshiva full time, and then you get a dispensation. But you actually have to go and like document that you're there. So the secular Israelis don't want to do that because they don't want to sit with a black hat and a penguin suit learning Torah all day. And the religious Zionists don't do it because Zionism is their religion, unfortunately, and they think serving in the army is itself a holy endeavor, which in some instances you could say it is, but not under all circumstances. And if you're not a fighter and you don't want to, then there's no difference between holiness and serving in the army and being a clerk at a supermarket giving food out. Both things have to be done, but this is something that the religious sector doesn't really understand. They kind of assign a holiness to serving the state because the state is like an incarnation of God, not literally, but that's how they treat it.
Now, did you serve as well?
Yeah.
You came late. Okay. I wasn't sure if you had to sign up or not.
I didn't serve. I was kidnapped. No, I wasn't kidding. I got a notice that I had to go. So, I wasn't really a libertarian at that point. I was headed in that direction. But I still saw serving the army as like technically a holy endeavor. But I didn't do anything. I just wasted time. I was like organizing cucumbers.
You and a Democratic congressman.
Yeah.
No, so you are eligible for the selective service again. I don't know what it's called in Israel. I just know that this in America the draft is called the selective service. But you could
maybe. I think technically I am, but I don't think really I show up in any of the computer systems because I literally did nothing in my 6 months. I went through 1 month of basic training. I had just gotten married, and my wife was pregnant with our first, and she was alone, and I couldn't make any money, and it was this whole thing because I was in the army, and I didn't do a thing. So that kind of disillusioned me and had me thinking, well, maybe this isn't all the holiness it's cracked up to be, and that was another lurch toward libertarianism. But yeah, I think technically I could still be called up, but I haven't been. I was called up once and I just ignored it. So,
but you can actually do that. You didn't get like, I don't know.
I think by the time I got the message, the deadline had already passed. I was like, oops. But like, I'm so low. I'm so low on the totem pole. I just probably came up in like an algorithm that they just like picked my name out of an algorithm once, and that was it. Yeah. But I have no training, so I can't do anything.
Yeah, I guess you don't seem like the kind of guy who wants to do that either. I mean, I don't want to be in the military at all either. It's so unappealing to me.
No, especially with the problem being that the military has no goals. It's not like they have a mission that they're trying to complete. Like, what are they? So, okay, so like they declare war on Gaza, and now what? Like, what are they going to do? Like, what's the objective? Tell me, but nobody can say.
Yeah.
So, like, what you're going to send all these kids in, momish kids, 18 to 22 years old, most of them. You're going to send them in to like shoot guns and kill people. Okay, for what? Like, what happens afterwards? But
yeah, Machiavelli wrote. He said, I mean, this is very cold-blooded, but he said, you can't wound your enemy. You have to either kill your enemy or make peace with them. Because if you just wound your enemy, then they're just filled with vengeance and evil thoughts towards you. So
yeah.
So if they're not prepared to go all the way, blowing up a bunch of houses, killing a bunch of children and women, and civilians that may or may not be the mothers and daughters and husbands and wives of the militants, you're just making the situation worse. So yeah, I see. It's like us in Vietnam. We stayed there, or Afghanistan. We stayed there 20 years and had no particular defined objective beyond some vague notion of building a Jeffersonian democracy in a place that doesn't want it.
Yeah. What?
And we're by the point of a gun too. It's like, you will have an American democracy.
Somebody's asking me, what ratio would you stack gold to silver? Phil, you want to take this one first?
What I tell people, we can get back to the monetary side. What I tell people is that gold is the safe play, it'll preserve your wealth, and then silver is going to be the wild rodeo. It's going to spike up and then probably come back down to a much lower level. And this is in terms of real, honest to God purchasing power, like what you will be able to buy with it in the end game. It's going to spike up to where you can, like Rafi says, buy a house for 75 to 100 ounces of silver. Then it's going to go once the silver enters the system and starts spreading out. It's going to the purchase power is going to go down to something normal, where like you buy your groceries with a couple of ounces of silver, right? So if you want to ride that rodeo, go ahead. Gold is going to do much more of that. Now it will spike up a lot. I think Rafi will confirm all this. It will spike up a lot in terms of real purchasing power, but it will not do what silver is going to do as far as like a moonshot. So if you have to make that decision, no one can make it for you. And I do recommend a little bit of silver in my non-financial advice. You should always talk to your financial advisor. A little bit of silver for retail transactions, as Rafi says, because you're either going to pay when you go to buy groceries or get a haircut. You're either going to pay with gold shavings. You're going to take and they did this in Venezuela. There's videos on YouTube. They took gold coins and shaved off a little bit. And the guy has a coffee filter and he collects the gold shavings and he weighs it. Or you're going to pay with silver coins, or you're going to pay with copper ingots or iron ingots, something like that. So those are your choices for payment. And silver is just a much better way than gold shavings to get that accomplished.
Yeah. So this my way of answering that is, it's not about a ratio. It depends how much wealth you have. Like if you have like $100 million, I wouldn't say like 50% silver, 50% gold, or even like 10% silver, 90% gold. Like if you have hundreds of millions of dollars and you want to protect that wealth, then you should buy mostly not financial advice. This is only theoretical for the theoretical person who doesn't exist. If I had $100 million, I would probably go with like 95% gold and 5% silver, because I don't want to have to time, I'd rather stabilize most of that wealth in terms of purchasing power, because once gold makes a moonshot, it's going to stay there pretty much. It'll go down a little bit maybe after that, but once it finds its new exchange rate with the dollar or whatever is going to be there, or if the dollar is completely dead, its purchasing power is going to go up and then pretty much stay around there. Whereas silver is going to go way up and then shoot back down to something in the middle. I don't know exactly where, but you just want enough for retail purchases, and that's all you really need. So, and if you have, let's say, like $500,000 or less, then you probably want more silver to try a little bit more timing. but not much beyond what you would need for, let's say, a year of expenses. I wouldn't go beyond that because you want mostly stability. Sorry, there's a fly that's annoying me. Okay. Any more questions? Let's see. I'm scrolling here. Oh, yeah, bro. Sunak. That's Rishi Sunak. Yeah, Rafi is okay. I'm okay. As long as nobody knocks on my door, Hamas or government, that would be nice.
So in preparing for so let's say you timed it at 4 to 7 months. Let's say somebody's jumping into your channel just now. They've never heard of Rafi Farber or Phil Lowe. They jump in. If they got 4 to 7 months, how fast should they? I guess they should move pretty fast. I mean, instead of slowly stacking over time, I guess your recommendation would be to back up the truck. Would you wait until the deflate? Like someone moves in just now, they got nothing. Would you say wait until the deflationary crash and back up the truck, or back up the truck right now?
No, I would say
the silver will spike way down. Probably silver will probably spike way down.
Yeah, I'd say start by dedicating a portion of your monthly income to gold and silver now, and do as much as you can without going into too much debt. But I really hesitate to translate my timing of 4 to 7 months to start panic buying gold and silver, because I do acknowledge that I could be wrong about this, and I want people to be careful to always have as much dollars as they need to cover their immediate liquidity expenses, and stay calm, and don't take timing all that seriously, even though keep it in the back of your mind. It's a very tough dialectic to master, and I've been at it for years, so I'm a little bit better at it. But yeah, you have to stay calm.
Your advice on that is absolutely perfect, and it really has stabilized me, because I originally backed the truck up a couple times, mm-hmm. And then I was starting to overdo it, and my wife even pointed out that I was overdoing it, so I backed up and said, okay, stop, take it easy.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you a question. I think this is up your alley in terms of translating the ether into the real world. So we had this big jobs report that came out by the BLS, I think, and it was like a huge beat. And I looked into it, and it was like mostly hospitality jobs in government. Yeah. But from what I could say, that the higher inflation is, the more jobs you'll have, because inflation lowers the purchasing power of the money. So it becomes easier for employers to buy labor cheaper, right? If wages are staying the same, then unemployment tends to fall. And you saw this in Weimar, it was close to full employment, but it was crap jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get full employment, because if you're paying somebody pennies, then the issue is finishing your job and getting to the store before your money's worthless. Yeah. So no, this job support's nonsense, and everyone knows it. Everyone's feeling it, even in the cushier areas. You're feeling it. You can see the decay, and you can see the desperation of the people. And I got into an argument with a food vendor. We were at a balloon festival, and we set up chairs far enough. We were not interfering with this lady at all. But we set up chairs near a food vendor, and she just got increasingly belligerent over the course of the day and the night, where they do the balloon launch and then they do the balloon glow in the evening. And by the end, she assaulted us with her truck. She pulled her truck up close where it hit up, it grazed our side. She did not run over us. And then she jumped out and took a plastic jug and threw it at us. It was get the F out of, my spot that I paid for and stuff. We're like, geez, what the hell's wrong with this lady? And, as I'm walking away, and we realized, at least I realized, nope, she didn't sell anything. That's why. If she had sold she made a bunch of money, she would not be blowing her stack over somebody sitting near her. And we were sitting behind the food truck. So we had nothing to do with her. And I think that's just a sign. I would expect a lot more of this, of just people they're on the treadmill and they're not staying up, and they're just getting more and more desperate. And that's leading to, lashing out at customers, things like that. And just randoms.
Yeah.
And my behavior was not good that day. I wish if I could redo it, I would, but I can't. So I mean, after she was like assaulting us, I read her the Riot Act, and I realized like now that was coming from a place of desperation, not a place of rage and anger. So,
yeah. Oh, you mean on her side?
On her part, yes. I wish I could have, de-escalated and not, yelled at her for throwing garbage at us.
Oh no,
But I expect
it's hard to do it in the moment.
Yeah, and I expect a lot. Like logically, I expect a lot more of this. I expect to run into very desperate people as this increases. And that the whole reason I started my channel was just to like get the word out, because every single person you can get to stack silver is one less zombie. You're gonna have to. In fact, it's an anti-zombie. It's somebody who's going to be walking around with the zombie vaccine.
Yeah.
You know
what? I had a question. Maybe I asked it to you before, maybe on the last live stream, I'm not sure. But it has to do with the difference between your approach and Peter Schiff's approach. I had an interview with Peter Schiff, right? And I gave him your point of, imagine if I think this is one of the most genius points you've made on your channel. And that is, if the price of gold on the Fed's balance sheet is 42.22, if suddenly they revalue that to market value, $1,900, $2,000 an ounce, whatever it is. Your theory is, and I think you're right, is that the theoreticalness of that move means that gold on an infinite time horizon is 1900, so that automatically bids up the price of gold in the present to something like 35,000, 40, whatever the number was. Now, Peter Schiff's point, his counterpoint was that he wasn't responding to you directly, but I gave him that scenario, and he's like, no, well, if they revalue it to like $1,900, it doesn't mean anything because they're not going to get any gold from there anyway. It's just a mental exercise. So can you translate that move mechanically from $42 to $1,900 on the Fed's balance sheet to how it filters into the actual gold market? What are the steps?
So so that right now that on the infinite time horizon, it's listed as $42 on the Fed balance sheet, which means like, theoretically, you are supposed to be able to walk to the door of the Federal Reserve or the Treasury, whoever, I think the Treasury leases it to the Fed. So it's technically owned by the Treasury, but the Fed has, temporary custody of it. But you're supposed to be able to redeem it. And it's still listed on the Fed's balance sheet as that, which if it's not redeemable, then it shouldn't even be there. Like there's no point to it. But if it wasn't there, the dollar would be dead immediately. The dollar is not an abstract point system. It is a redemption for gold. It always has been, always will be. It's just not, the window's closed.
Yeah, that's my main point on Endgame Investor. And I think that's the point that you fully understood that. Yeah.
So if they say, okay, if they're like, guys, yeah, okay, we printed a little too many notes. We're gonna adjust this from $42 to $2,000 to just to take the steam. We got this pressure valve. We're just gonna take some of the steam out. The present value, you can have gold in the infinite future for $2,000, or you can have gold right now for $2,000. So everyone's just gonna go and buy gold right now. And your question is, why doesn't it just mean why does that not just translate to $10,000 wedding rings? Why does that translate to societal collapse?
No. My question is, okay, so you have that theoretical thing, right? It's not, people aren't making a calculation in their heads. They're not doing this.
Right.
It's saying, well, I could go to the Fed in an infinite time and get gold then, or I could go to the market right now and get gold now. They're not making that comment and making a decision. Something is happening mechanically within the system itself. I think it starts like this. And if you think I'm right, you can continue from here. But I think that the Fed, let's say, revalues from 42 to 2,000, okay? And then its balance sheet basically explodes from what's gold valued out now, like 11 billion on the balance sheet. And it explodes to whatever the value of 8,102 tons or whatever it is they have in Fort Knox. And they have all these extra dollars now on the balance sheet. Like, so that immediately expands the money supply. And this money, what happens to it? Who has it now? The Fed has it, and therefore they have all these dollars, and now that's on the other side. They have to go somewhere, and they end up going into a lot of it into the gold market.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. See, I handle it from the sort of the street perspective. I see what you're saying.
But I'm saying there's something numerical that happens on the balance sheet. You have all these extra dollars, and they go in, they go somewhere. And I mean, the money supply of everything, the money supply just expands like overnight. So that's really the inflationary-ness of it, and that's what causes the impact horizon or the blast radius of the price matrix.
I don't think dollars are created during a reval. It's not that the dollars are created; it's that they're declared worth less.
Yeah.
Right. Because they were declared at worth $42 an ounce, but they are suddenly declared at $2,000 an ounce. So if it's declared to be worth a lot less, then people.
But if you just think in terms of the accounting, right? If you look at the Fed's balance sheet, I'll try to.
But dollars would not be created, I don't think, on that side of the balance sheet. Like it's not. It's.
Well, you have assets, right?
Right.
And right now, the gold assets are listed as, I'm going to try to share screen here. I'm going to try to open it and see if I can find it on the Fed's balance sheet. It doesn't have tabs open.
We're going to try and work through this live. I'm not sure if this is interesting or not. I hope it is, but we're going to try and work through this logical problem live.
Yeah.
It might be two guys going, I don't know.
Okay. So hold on, I got this here. I'm going to share screen. Okay. More. Share screen. Wait, how do I? Oh, there it is. Wrong button. Okay. Share screen here. This is the Fed's balance sheet, right? If I type in gold, the gold certificate account, right? So it says here, see here, assets. Let me zoom in, right? It says 11 billion, $37 million. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is at 42.22. Fine. Now imagine the Fed revalues this to $2,000 an ounce. So this number, 11 billion, 37 million, becomes, what's 1900 over 42?
Yeah, it's time 47. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Add a 0 and then add a 5. Turn that.
Hold on. Let's say 2,000 divided by 42. That's 47 times.
47.
So times 11,037,000. That's $525 billion. So you have an expansion of $510 billion.
But the dollar is on the liability side.
Yeah.
It's on the asset side. So
yeah.
The dollar, right. So the dollar,
but they balance out.
I see.
Right. You have $500 billion more overnight that are on the liability side. And
so you think they would print? You think a bunch of dollars are printed somewhere or created on the Fed's? Oh, and then the Fed has all these dollars that they just created on their assets that they have to get out into the system now.
Do they have to give it out?
Well, do they have to? I mean, what? So if they revalue the dollars onto gold, so now they have the two balancing out. How does the dollar leave? How do the new dollars leave the system? Or enter the system, sorry. How does the new dollar leave the Fed and enter the system?
I don't know, but I think I have to research past gold valuations and what they did to central bank balance sheets. But I do believe you are right that if they do that, the price of gasoline goes to like $300 a gallon the next day.
That I'm sure of. I'm a little, the mechanisms, I think it just devalues the dollars that already exist. I don't think it creates new dollars, but we'll have to examine that and look into it in the future. But why does it devalue the dollars? All I can say is the gold is the price matrix. The price matrix is gold. So if gold is devalued in dollar terms and dollars are just an abstraction of gold, then the dollar buys less. That's mechanically how it works. Now, why that translates into the real world, I can't think of the exact mechanism like off the top of my head. Like why does everyone rush to the store immediately to buy gold? My guess is big players will start moving first, and then people see gold being bought and psychologically say, "Oh my God, gold's going up. Let me go buy some gold too. I want to get in on this." Yeah.
Okay. This is something I got to think through and think through mechanically how it happens, because there's something flowing through the system in a real sense that causes it, and I got to think about what that is. But on this point, I think Peter Schiff is wrong. It's not just an academic
I
question.
agree.
And I think you're right.
We both agree that billionaire, that stupid billionaire, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, he's actually been very. I've been listening to him more now, because even he is saying like we're right there. Like I can feel it from different sides of the gold and silver spectrum. I can feel people. I don't know if we're all feeding off each other, or the world really is getting crazy, or like we really are all one person, and and different incarnations, and things are starting to come together. But he was very useful and important in his comments on the housing market now. The question of why aren't housing prices collapsing with the interest rates going, the 30-year mortgages are now 7.5%. Why aren't we seeing like a crater in housing prices? And his answer is that the problem now is that people are paying mortgages, not that they're defaulting. They're paying like I'm paying. I'm paying a very low rate mortgage. You're paying a very low rate mortgage, and we're screwing the banks that way. And that's why and it makes people like us like stay put, because we have a great mortgage. Why are we we're not going to move. We're not going to sell the house. So it keeps inventories down. It keeps housing prices levitated, even though interest rates are so high, but it's killing the banks. So they're going to have to get the bailout for a different reason.
So when the people will not sell until they're unemployed, basically, I would think. I mean, if I can keep a job, even if I can keep a job as a, pizza delivery guy or an Uber driver or something, if I can, because the mortgage is so good, even though the price of the house is really high, the mortgage is so low and the prices haven't fallen that people will do whatever they have to do to keep it going as long as they can. So when it cracks, it'll probably crack very quickly and much closer to the end, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. And then once the banks get a bailout for that, because all of their clients are paying their mortgages, then the money supply increases and housing prices go up even faster, and all these people just have to pay like pennies a month for their mortgage. It sounds like a good deal. So I can feel it already happening. Like my mortgage is getting lower and lower every month.
But my house's true value is not like, in the crash, I'm going to be underwater. I know I'm going to be underwater like massively until the hyperinflation kicks in. Or like when the deflationary busts happen, I'm going to see my house go down to, from 400,000 to say, 100,000. And that's when everyone's going to freak out. And that's when they're going to start panic selling.
Yeah. But for how long? How long? And maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months at most. Yeah.
Maybe. I wouldn't, but there's people like Real Estate Ninja, saying that's the time to buy. My show, I say that is not the time to buy, because during a hyperinflation, one of the problems of hyperinflation is when the dollar loses all meaning, you can't extract rent. So you're going to own, if you buy, let's say you go out on margin and you buy 100 houses during this deflationary crash. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to have 100 doors of people who can't pay you. So you're going to be, it can't pay you with anything with value.
The maintenance cost in the house is going to flood you out.
Yeah, you're going to be responsible, but you're going to have houses that need their roofs replaced, they need the plumbing fixed, and you're going to be on the hook for it. And you're going to have renters who are like, you need to fix my, my dishwasher. And you're going to say, well, you owe me $600,000 of rent. And they're going to delay a week. And then they're going to give you your $600,000 rent that's going to buy a candy bar. So.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about decaying infrastructure, and the only ones who will be able to maintain them are the stackers.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And at the very end of the hyperinflation, at least my personal plan is you wait till the very end of the hyperinflation, when they promise to stop printing and they do the final revalue, and then that's when you buy the house for 75 ounces silver.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any final words? I had a one question here that is interesting. Didn't Israel create Hamas? The answer is yes, they did. I don't know if they did it intentionally. I'm not like, I don't think there was a meeting that came together with the Israeli government and says, let's create Hamas. I don't think that actually happened. But the Oslo Accords and bringing all these terrorists to Israel created Hamas. That's how it happened. And Israel's like, well, okay, well, at least we have someone to talk to now and fight against. So it makes us relevant. Yeah, that's how it happened.
All right. I don't know. I got a couple haters on the chats. I don't know where that came from.
It's okay. We all hate you, Phil. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll get used to my face, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
All right. I'm trying to make Phil famous.
Unless there's no final super chats or insightful questions. So I guess we'll call it here and pick it up next week.
Wait, let's see. Hold on. Fan funding. Do it, explain, very important. Well, it didn't say what to explain. It says Captain Ron Hayward. Is that like Ron Howard's evil twin? That'd be cool. Okay.
What I would say on not this week. I'm not doing a video this week, but next week my topic is going to be how most economics is nonsense, and it's just Keynesian nonsense, and most people with economic degrees are wrong.
It's like we've had this before. We've had nonsense. We've had phrenology. We've had bloodletting.
Yes.
We've had all these like weird theories about the weather and astrology. I mean, this is just another astrology. That's what it is. Keynesianism is just astrology. Okay, that's it.
That's a great way. I'm gonna make that in the video.
Okay.
No, absolutely, yeah. And real quick before we sign off, I took a course. I went to NYU and I took an economics course over summer. I said, "Oh, what's this economics?" I was like 19, right? I said, "What's this economics stuff?" And it was some guy, and it was pure Keynes, and I see it now. It was pure Keynesian nonsense, and I was like, I don't understand any of this. None of this makes any sense. I hate economics. I want nothing to do with any of this ever again. And then I took a course at George Mason, and I was like, well, this makes sense. This is common. This is brilliant. This is common sense. And like now I see it was Austrian versus Keynesian.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes from Hayek. He said, "There's no discoveries to be made in economics. It's not an Indian. It's not a matter of making discoveries or discovering a new principle. It's a matter of taking basic principles of human action and fitting them together in a story where you wouldn't have known it. You wouldn't have known this conclusion inherently, but you can build it up from first principles. And when you do that, it all does fit together."
All right, we'll leave it there, I guess.
All right. Have a good day, Phil. Bye.